What is universal credit? Let's just have a chat about this for 5-10 minutes, shall we? Universal credit itself. Now, universal credit was a jolly good idea brought in by the Conservative government, I believe, back in the teens. Because up until that point, we had like a smorgasbord of benefits. A lot of workplace. Gordon Brown brought in loads, didn't he? Working tax credit, child tax credit, income support. There was loads of these little things bubbling around which didn't require people to pay national insurance to get it. And that's the thing. The whole point about universal credit is it's given to people who need it, who haven't really got a national insurance record. So let's just pick up on a whiteboard over here on some of the basics of universal credit. So let's just pop over here and give you a bit of a different angle. Universal credit. There you go. It's a clever idea, but it's just ballooned out of all proportion. That's the problem with universal credit. What is it? Well, it's not national insurance dependent, but it's means tested benefit. So it's means tested on income and capital, of course. And it's an amount of money given to people who are in work or out of work. It doesn't make any difference. So you can be in work earning some money, but not a lot, so we'll pay you more. Or you can be out of work and you've not been able to apply for the work benefits or the disability benefits, and they'll pay you some more. It's based upon a household, not an individual. Let's just put a cross through that. So the other benefits, of course, are based on individuals, aren't they? You apply, don't you? But this one's based on the house. And the whole point about the household is you have a number of people in it. There you go. So it's household income coming in that's used as the means testing. It's a pretty simple system. You go online, you apply for it, and you get it. It's not actually more complex than that. What do you get? Well, you get a basic allowance if you need it. And then you get extras. You get extras for children, for example, and that's been the child cap that we'll go into in a second or two. You get extras for housing if you need housing support as well, of course. You get extras if you're caring, if you've got disabled people in the household. All sorts of things that require you to have more money is the amount that you get. And then, of course, they pay you. There is that cap, which I showed you on the slide. Let's just put that cap back up for you again so you can see that. Let's just put that cap back up. There you go. Can you see the cap there? There we got a benefits cap of 25,000 in London, 22 grand elsewhere. That's not been budged for a long time now as well. So you can see there, eligible for employed or self-employed on low income, standard amount given plus more for disabled children, dependent children. Now this is the bit here, it replaced all these horrible little things here that you might still read in a textbook, but they're actually irrelevant now. These are all the benefits that used to be paid under Gordon Brown: working tax credit, child tax credit, income-based employment support allowance, job seekers allowance and housing. The employment support allowance and job seekers allowance, these are what they call the income-based ones. So you didn't have national insurance to get the full amount, so you had to apply for that. These are now all gone. They're all gone now. The full transition, if I just give you another slide here for you, the full transition, all those legacy benefits now have gone. And we are now completely migrated into universal credit, which sounds jolly painful, but that's the way it is. Okay, let's pick up a bit more on universal credit, just to get ourselves comfortable with this. So we know now that it's replaced all those other miscellaneous things. You don't need any of those in your exams. It's an amount of money paid to a household who needs it because their income is low, whether they're working or not working. One might be working, one might not be working. They might have people in the household that need extra money for their position and their condition. So there's a lot of aspects going on. So let's just clear some of this up for you. Who's eligible for universal credit? Well, people over state pension age have the pensions credit, so they don't get it. So it's working age people. So if you're over state pension age, you get state pensions credit. So that's your benefit. You might get the illness benefit, which we'll come on to in a second, for somebody over the age of state retirement age. Must be living in the UK and have the right to reside. So that's all this business with people coming in with visas, that sort of thing. So you have to have the right to live in the UK and get it. Not in full-time education, naturally. That's students, isn't it? You can be employed or self-employed, unemployed, of course, or unable to work and still claim universal credit as long as your income is low enough. And that's the criteria. So it's pretty simple. You can see why this was a very popular benefit coming in. Universal credit doesn't have a limit on working hours, so you can work as much as you want. And what the government, of course, have tried to do over the last few years is increase the minimum wage to ensure that the private sector pays for people's salaries rather than the government. And that's actually a good thing, because people should go to work, earn the money, a decent salary. Salaries have been kept pegged in the last 10, 15 years. And this sort of working sort of minimum wage has become like a starter for many hundreds of thousands of people. That should be more in many jobs. Therefore, the government shouldn't chip in, the private sector should. And that's what they're trying to do. Even full-time workers can receive universal credit if their earnings are below the need the system calculates. How much is paid? Well, let's just take a quick look then. How much is paid? Well, there's a standard allowance I mentioned to you, and then you get extras. There's a child element. This is the maximum two-child thing. I'll pick this up in a second or two with you. That's been very much in the press in the last 6 months. It's not political, it's just what's required, isn't it? A child element is extra money if you've got kids. That's the whole point, isn't it? And what they were doing is they were only paying up to, they assumed you only had 2 kids. But if you had 3 kids or 4 kids, they weren't paying any extra. And that's now gone, of course, the maximum 2. Disabled child edition, you've got carers element, which I mentioned, housing element as well, which I mentioned to you, and finally childcare costs element, so there's little bits to it. All good, all good. So what's the 2-child cap then? Well, there's a lovely article from The Guardian. The 2-child limit is abolished at last. Watch out for the narrative that will follow. Very political, isn't it? And they got rid of it, and it cost the government £4 to £5 billion for the 2-child cap. No need to look at the article in any more detail. What is the 2-child cap then? Introduced in 2017. The rule means the families can only claim the child element of universal credit for up to 2 children born after that date. So, if you had more children, you couldn't claim any more for those kids. That was the whole point. There were exceptions apply, of course, to multiple birth adoptions and stuff like that. There's always exceptions to the rule, isn't there, when it comes to it. And finally, the cap does not affect child benefit, which is still payable for all children, but the high income child benefit charge may apply. So the child benefit one is unaffected by that.